Dear members of DB Tech, we are extremely happy to meet you through this video presentation. Hope you are all safe and healthy during this time of COVID-19. This particular video presentation is very particularly to share with you the fundamentals of photography to help you better your documentation photographs. We have divided this particular video presentation into 5 parts, and let us launch into them directly. The first that I would like to share with you as the very fundamental element of photography would be to know the point of interest. We would also call it as the center of interest. When you watch a photograph, you first ask the question, why this photograph was taken? What is the purpose of this particular photo? We will show you on the screen some of the photos, and you just watch them and ask this question, why this particular photograph was taken. If you are able to answer why this photo was taken, then the photo has achieved its purpose. It is a successful photography. Rather, if you are not able to understand why this particular photograph was taken, or if you are confused about why it is taken, what is the purpose, then the photograph has failed to achieve its purpose. Okay, so we have to ask, what is my point of interest? What is the center of interest in taking this photo? When you are very clear about your point of interest, when you are very clear about the center of interest, then we focus on that and we frame the photography and we come out with a very correct and proper photo. Okay, so this is the first element of the fundamentals of photography. We move on to the second fundamental element in photography, which is shots. Every language has got its own alphabets, and shots are the alphabets in photography. There are 7 different types of shots that we are going to learn today, and before we move on to that, I would like to introduce to you our own students of Don Bosco Alaihal Institute of Media Studies who are here and who will be helping us as models for this particular video presentation. I am happy to introduce to you Akash, Ruben, Asha and Ramya, who will be posing for different photographs and helping us to understand the different types of photographs and the nuances in taking photography. As I was telling you, there are 7 different types of shots in taking photos. We will see them one by one. The first type of shot would be establishing shot, which in other terms would be called as extreme wide shot. In videography, people call it as establishing shot. It is because it introduces the location to the audience. In any cinema or in any drama or in TV serial, the beginning of the movie or the drama, they establish the location to the audience by showing the location in which the whole thing is happening. Maybe a house or a vicinity or a location in which the whole thing is happening. In taking photos, we use wide shots, extreme wide shots. It's because to introduce the location to the audience. See, for example, this is our Don Bosco Media Institute, and taking an extreme wide shot of this particular institute will tell the audience the location, the building, the facilities that are available, the gigantic look of the location. Okay, so when we take our own institutes, the outer view of our institutes or our houses, that becomes the extreme wide shot. So that is the first type of shot. And we move on to the second shot, which is namely wide shot. What is the difference between extreme wide shot and wide shot? Extreme wide shot, it reveals to the audience or to the persons a location in which the house is functioning or our institute is functioning and so on. Whereas the wide shot, it adds the persons who are studying, who are working in the institute, or the persons who belong to the house. Take for example this particular shot. Here we also see the external look of the building along with the students and the persons who are involved in the activity. So this would be wide shot, adding the location and the persons involved would be wide shot. The third type of shot would be a full shot. And this particular word, full shot, it explains the type of shot it is. It is covering the person from top to bottom, featuring the complete whole person. Okay, so to explain to you better, we will invite our models, our students here, and by taking, please come, and by photographing them, we will explain to you what are these different type of shots. Full shot frames the person from head to toe, portraying the complete personality of the person. Cowboy shot or mid-long shot. Cowboy or mid-long shot is framed, showing the person from just below or above the knee to head. This cowboy or mid-long shot takes the viewers a little closer to the person portrayed. Mid-shot. Mid-shot is framed, showing the person from above the hip to the head. Most often, we see such shots used in news readings, debate shows, and in television serials. Mid-shot takes the viewers even closer to the person portrayed. Close-up shot. Close-up shot is framed, showing the person from above the chest to the head. They are often used in films and in TV serials to show the beauty and the looks of the heroes and heroines. Extreme close-up shot. Extreme close-up shots take the audience very close to the persons portrayed. They are specially shown to create emotional bonding between the persons portrayed and the viewers. The third important element in taking photography would be choosing the device. We have two options with us. One would be the digital cameras that are available to us, and the second would be the mobile phone cameras that we use. When we speak about the digital cameras, we have different companies' cameras, namely Canon, Nikon, Sony and Panasonic and so on, starting from the very basic level to mid-level and to the high-level cameras, we may be using them. With regard to the mobile cameras also, we may be having a simple mobile camera, and some may be having a very sophisticated, very high level, very high end and high resolution mobile cameras we may be having. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to learn how to use them and how to use the different options that are available. Since there are different types of cameras and different levels of cameras, we can't be explaining the details of every camera and its options. So I hope you should be learning them by yourself, be it a digital camera or the mobile camera. Talking about the common features that we need to enable, the one thing that I would recommend you to enable would be the grid option. Those of you who are using the digital camera may know how to use the grid, how to enable the grid. If you don't know, depending upon your camera, your company, you get to learn how to enable the grid option. Okay. Talking about the mobile phones, some of us may have the mobile phones with the camera option which has enabled the grid option. Some of us may not have the grid option available in our mobile phones. For example, I'm using a mid-level phone, Zenfone, Asus Zenfone Max Pro M1, which does not have the option of grid. So I have downloaded a new app that provides a grid option, and that would be a better camera. So those of you who do not have the grid option, which you will see on the screen, kindly enable this particular app named a better camera, and it provides you with the grid option. The grid is nothing but the viewfinder divided into 9 equal parts. There are 2 horizontal lines and 2 vertical lines, and the viewfinder is divided into 9 equal parts. And this would be of a very great help as we proceed further. Okay, so kindly enable in your phone or in your camera the grid option, and we move on to the next level. The fourth fundamental element in taking photography would be frames. In other words, we could even call them as composing a photograph. In the second fundamental element, we learned 7 different types of shots. They are the possibilities that are available to us. When we frame a photo, first we make the choice of what type of shot I am going to take. Is it going to be an extreme long shot or a long shot or a full shot, cowboy or mid-long shot or mid-shot or close-up or extreme close-up? We have to make this choice and frame the photo according to the choice that we have made. Okay? In framing, in composing a shot, we need to remember 7 elements, and this is very, very essential in taking a photo, and this would really qualify a photo, or this would really make a photo a better one. Okay, so we move on to the 7 elements that would help us frame a better photo. So talking about framing, or in other words, talking about composing a shot, we decide what should come within the viewfinder. When we show a camera, when we shoot a shot, we should decide what should come within the frame. That is called framing or composing a shot. In framing and in composing, we need to make 7 fundamental choices. The first one would be deciding between horizontal or vertical photograph. We would also call them as landscape and portrait photography. What do they mean by landscape and portrait photography? When we keep the mobile phone or the camera in a horizontal position, and if we shoot the object or a person, that would be called the landscape photography, because just like the landscape, we capture the wideness and the width and the breadth of the nature or the image. So that is called the horizontal or the landscape photography. When we turn the camera or the mobile into a vertical position, it would be called a portrait photography, and this is precisely to take an individual or an object. Okay, so that would be called the portrait photography. When we keep the camera in a vertical position, it would be called the portrait or vertical photography. Okay, so let's make an experiment. I am taking a photo of Rupan, a vertical photo or the portrait image of Rupan. The next one, we will take the landscape, in other words, horizontal image of Rupan. The additional thing that we need to keep in mind is the portrait photography is specifically for an individual or 2 persons or 3 persons. We cannot make a group photography into a portrait photography. To choose a group photography, we need to go in for the landscape mode or the horizontal mode. Take for example, Asha, please come. Okay, we are adding Asha. Now here there are 2 persons. We add on Ramya, please join. Okay. Okay, for 3 this would be a comfortable 1. In case we are adding more persons, more number of persons, Akash, please join. Landscape photography would be an ideal one. The horizontal photo would be an ideal one. The portrait photo may not contain all of them within the photo. Okay, so even when you go in for the landscape photography, we can't go in for the full photo, the full shot. We may have to choose and go in for a cowboy shot or a mid shot. Okay, so the choice is different. When we add the number of people, we have to choose either to go for the portrait or landscape, to choose between the types of shots. The second option that we need to make in framing or in compositing would be choosing the proper headspace. When I talk to you about headspace, we need to understand what is headspace. Now you are watching me on the screen. I am occupying a certain space on the frame, and above my head, what you see within the frame would be the headspace. For an image to be properly framed, the image should have a proper headspace. If the image has a lot of space above my head in the frame, it would be called an improper framing or an improper compositing. On the other hand, if the image does not have any space at all above my head, if it is cut just at the edge of my head, then that would also be called an improper framing or improper compositing. So for a frame to be composited in a proper manner, it should have a proper headspace above the person you're shooting or an object that you are capturing. So this would be called properly framed and properly head-spaced image. Okay, I will show you an example by shooting a model here, Asha. I'm going to take a photo of her. She's standing here. Now I'm framing her with the proper headspace. I'm taking a portrait photo, and this is a proper framing. If I am leaving too much of space like this above her head, this would be called an improper framing, too much of head space. And if I'm not leaving any space at all, I'm cutting just above her head, that would also be called an improper framing. Now let's invite another person. Now these two persons are of different size. One is taller in the height, another one is taller in wisdom. Okay, so let's shoot both of them. And here also we need to make a choice of the proper headspace and shoot them. Okay, so we could even ask the persons to stand above the steps there, which would also make it look even better. The choice is ours. Okay, so basically talking, the headspace also decides the kind of photography, the frame, it decides about the better framing. The third element that we should keep in mind in framing and in composing an image would be where we place the subject, the person or an object in the frame. There are two options. The third option we speak of would be center spacing. You're watching me on the screen. I am placed at the center of the frame. So this would be called the center spacing. We have here Ramya, and we would take a photograph of her by placing her at the center of the horizontal photo. Okay, so she's here, taken. Okay, we're taking a portrait photograph. Yes, this is taking her image, keeping her at the center, placing her at the center and shooting a photo. This is a very old school type of taking photo. Okay, this is very conventional style of taking photo, and we could also call it as rigid photography. Okay, very static photography. If we don't know what to choose, it is better that we keep the person at the very center and shoot a conventional and a very old school and a very rigid photography. The fourth option in framing would be choosing the rule of thirds. The rule of third beautifies the whole thing, that makes the photo very modern looking and with more aesthetic sense in the photo. Okay, now you're seeing me on the frame, not at the center, rather at the 1/3 position. I am not occupying the center space of the frame. I am at 1/3. Okay, to understand this better, remind you when I was talking to you about the digital camera and the mobile phones, I was telling you to enable the grid option in the mobile and in the digital cameras. Enabling the grid option would help us to frame the person in the 1/3 in a proper way. The viewfinder is divided into 9 equal parts, 2 vertical lines, 2 horizontal lines with 9 equal parts. Okay, the points, the 4 points in which the vertical lines and the horizontal lines, they intersect each other, they are called the golden points. Okay, so you see 4 golden points which are intersecting between the horizontal and the vertical lines. Okay, so what is the rule of third? Placing the object in any one of the golden point would be framing the person with the 1/3. Okay, to make you understand better, let's take a photo of Ramya. I am placing her at the golden point and keeping her at the 1/3. Now you watch on the screen the 2 images. An image where Ramya is placed at the center, and another image where Ramya is placed at the 1/3 on the upper right golden point. Tell me which one looks better. I hope you will agree with me if I were to say the one with the 1/3 framing looks better, because that is very pleasing to our eyes and that is very appealing and makes the photograph very innovative. I hope you understood this particular point. Okay, the third one, keeping the person at the center, and the fourth element, choosing the person to keep on the 1/3 of the frame. Okay, center spacing would be an old school and very rigid and very conventional way of taking photo. The fourth one, placing the person at the 1/3, choosing either of the golden points, would be a creative way of taking a photo. The fifth element in framing would be choosing the leading lines. This is an aspect that adds beauty to the shot. It is not compulsory that we need to look out for leading lines, but if they are available, it is better that we use them in our composition, in our framing. Okay, for example, I'm going to shoot Akash here. He is just standing behind me. I'm going to shoot him. See the lines that are there, the pillars and the door and the wall over here, they look like leading lines that are beautifully aligned in the camera. Where I take a portrait photography or a landscape photography, this looks beautiful. So this leading line option would add beauty to the framing. Okay, it is not compulsory, but if we find some sort of lines in the framing or in the composition, that would add beauty. The next option in framing we should keep in mind would be choosing the positive and negative space. What is positive and negative space? When we choose to frame with 1/3, okay, when we place the person at the 1/3 and frame the photo, we should know what is positive and negative space. Okay, to tell you in detail, we have Akash here. The frame is fixed this way. Okay, the notice board is there at the background and Akash is there standing at the 1/3. Okay, he is slightly turning towards the left side. The space that is at his side, at his left side, is considered to be the positive space. The space that is behind him is called the negative space. In any photography, in every photography, if we are choosing to frame with 1/3, we have to have more positive space and less negative space. Only then the 1/3 photography would look very pleasing to the eyes. Take for example, if we are having more negative space and having a less positive space, it would entirely have a different connotation. Okay, Akash, turn that side. Now he is turning to his right side. Now in the 1/3 position, he is having the space that is towards his right side is positive space. Okay, where he is turning, where he is likely to move, that is considered to be the positive size. And where he can't move, or where it is likely that he can't move, is considered to be the negative space. Here in this framing, his right side is considered to be positive and the side which is at his back is considered to be the negative side. So we can't frame, or we should not frame the image with more negative space for a specific meaning. Let us say, for example, he is rebelling against something. He is not welcomed. Okay, he is not happy here. Maybe to portray that particular point of view, we could frame the photo this way. He is not happy. He is not welcomed. He is not so happy to be here. So portraying that would have more negative space and less positive space. Rather, when he is happy, he is welcomed and he is so happy to be here. Akash, turn this side. Okay, so this should be the proper framing in 1/3. We are having more positive space and less negative space. So in any framing for that matter, if you are framing a person or an object or or a bird or any animal for that matter, if you are framing with 1/3 framing, we should keep in mind the positive and negative space, and the positive space should be more and the negative space should be limited. Hope you understand this positive and negative space concept. If we are keeping the person at the center, then there is no positive or negative space. Now we have placed Akash at the center of the notice board. Here there is no positive or negative space. So the positive or negative space could be used only if we are choosing to go for the 1/3. Only if you're placing the person at the right 1/3 or the left 1/3, then only we will be able to choose more positive and less negative space. Placing the person at the center, we don't have the choice of choosing positive or negative space. There is no positive and negative space. So far we have learned the different fundamentals of taking a good photo. And the final element that we need to learn would be to use the common sense in putting into practice all that we have learned. And that would be the fifth element in learning to take a good photography. So we have learned to choose between the portrait and the landscape photography. We have learned how to use the head space, the space above the head. We have learned whether to place the person in the center or to place the person using the rule of third. And we have learned how to have more positive space and less negative space, and how that beautifies the image. And we have also learned to use the leading lines in the photos that we take. Keeping in mind all these aesthetic sense, all these elements, we need to choose what type of shot I have to take in every particular moment. Am I going to choose to take an extreme long shot or a long shot or a full shot or mid-long shot, mid-shot, close-up or extreme close-up? Whenever we take a photo, we have to decide, we have to choose, use a common sense and apply all the principles that we have learned. And when we put into practice all these elements, I'm sure our images, the photos that we take, will really come out well, and they will be appreciated by people, and it will be extremely useful. So hope this video presentation helped you to learn to take better photos and to put into practice all that we have learned. We hope to meet you again in another video presentation. Until then, see you.